Good evening and thank you for joining us on Special Assignment. I'm your host Ashraf Garda. Tonight we expose the very disturbing crime of child sex trafficking. Shockingly, children as young as 9 are allegedly being sold into sexual slavery. Our investigation has found that the Mpumalanga province has become a hotbed for this type of crime, partly due to its proximity to the Mozambican border. In a high-profile case which is currently before the courts, a wealthy Mpumalanga businessman with strong political ties has been charged with several counts of rape and human trafficking for sexual exploitation. This investigation by Frank Farrow.
Violetta Chauke was allegedly 14 years old when she was sold into sexual slavery and domestic servitude. Now at the age of 22, after 8 long years of abuse, she has been arrested and is being charged for a crime for which she herself is a victim. Her alleged perpetrator is this man, a wealthy Mpumalanga entrepreneur with powerful political connections. But while his alleged victim is behind bars, he hasn't spent a day in jail.
The state has even given this Mabuza, a bail of 70,000 without even opposing, which is a problem for us as Santac, and we see that the government is not, actually taking enough effort to make sure that they deal with this problem.
However, the police maintain that 60-year-old Lloyd Mabuza is facing serious charges of human trafficking for sexual exploitation, which, if he's found guilty, could spend the rest of his life in jail.
Schedule 6 offence is a very serious offence, and we are taking it as such. We feel, in our case, that people that are committing such kind of crime, if they are found guilty, they must go for a long time in jail.
Violetta's sister Julieta Chauke, pictured here, allegedly became Mabuza's sex slave at the tender age of 12. Now, at the age of 25, the state alleges she recruited her nieces, aged 9 and 11, and other girls to fulfill Mabuza's sexual desire for younger girls. Julieta has evaded arrest and is believed to have fled to Mozambique. The picturesque town of Sabi in the Mpumalanga province nestles in a deep valley, surrounded by one of the biggest man-made forests in the world. This sleepy town on the edge of the escarpment recently awoke to the angry protests of child welfare and rights groups. They picketed against a crime that until now had gone unnoticed. Vusi Indekuya serves on the board of the Southern African Network Against Trafficking and Abuse of Children.
South Africa has become more of a transit country from people coming from Mozambique into South Africa. It's also a destination country in the sense that people will be trafficked and brought into the country, particularly on issues of domestic servitude and also sexual exploitation. However, there have been cases where people would come into the country, be kept for a number of days or months before they are transported to other countries outside even of the African continent.
The co-accused Violetta Chauke arrived at court in a police van from the Nelspruit prison, where she's been jailed with her 2-year-old child. Violetta told me she was sold into domestic servitude at a young age. She says after several years of abuse at the hands of her alleged perpetrator, he no longer wanted her.
Há quanto tempo é que estás aqui na África do Sul?
Eu aqui. Desde que eu cheguei aqui em 2004. Em 2004 eu cheguei aqui, me levei em casa, estava a estudar, sétima classe, vir aqui, vir me dar aquele pai, brincar comigo. Chegou a hora, já não me queria.
Essa criança de quem é a criança?
Não é dele.
Tá, onde é que tu estás?
Eu estava a ficar lá no Sabi.
E tu, onde é que estás agora? Em que cadeia é que estás? Fala para mim, como é que é as condições lá?
Aonde? não é nada. Fiquei bela.
Então tu trouxeste as meninas para fazer sexo com esse homem?
É, não sou eu. Minha irmã.
Violeta denies having recruited young girls for Lloyd Mabuza to exploit sexually. She says after her arrest, she received no consular assistance.
E tens tido apoio do governo? O governo tem dado apoio?
Eu.
O governo tem dado apoio a ti?
Ninguém.
Ok. Essa criança como é que está a ser tratada?
Quais? Aquele.
Essa é a tua criança?
Esse. Estava tratada.
Lá na cadeia?
Sou eu.
Ok. E fala para mim, como é que encontraste esse senhor?
Esse que estava a dormir com essas crianças. Estava uma costura.
Vocês são namorados?
E também ele me brigou comigo. Chegou o tempo, já não me queria. É ele que fez para eu deixar a escola, vir aqui, vir sofrer. Também nesse momento estava a sofrer com essas crianças.
Que idade é que tu tens?
Tenho 3.
We approached the Mozambican consulate in Nelspruit to inquire about Violeta's incarceration and the other trafficked victims. The consul, Arturo Verissimo, says they've been unable to speak to the victims, 5 young girls that were held captive and allegedly sexually assaulted by Mabuza.
We were trying for any means, but it's not easy for us to meet the girls, the 5 girls.
Why is that?
The reason from South African authority is that they are protecting them for their safety. If that is enough reason or not, I'm not in a position to judge that. But for us as the Mozambican government, it becomes very important to meet those 5 ladies, to talk with them, so that we can deal in the better way with this matter.
Meanwhile, the NPA has yet to comment on the trafficked girls. In court, Mabuza's lawyer Picture Deer argued with the prosecutor, insisting that his client would not stand in the accused dock with the co-accused. Attorney Rudy Krauser explains the court's procedure.
The Criminal Procedure Act simply determines that all proceedings must take place in the presence of the accused. There are obviously 1 or 2 exceptions as far as that is concerned. But ordinarily and subject to a court ordering otherwise, an accused will always attend criminal proceedings in the accused dock.
When the police could not find Violeta's sister Julieta, they arrested her instead. At the time, she was the housekeeper.
The allegations against her is that she was taking these children into the country under the auspices that she was taking them to school. But when it came into the country, it became something else. So how do these men, the South African men, come to the picture? The allegations against him was that he was then using the children also for sexual activities. Those are the allegations by the court. We have arrested the 2. The man is out on a 70,000 rand bail. The woman is still in custody. We are continuing with our investigations.
Violeta insists she had no involvement in the young girls being sold into sexual slavery, but the state maintains she's equally guilty for not reporting the crime. South Africa still has no specific laws to prosecute cases of human trafficking. This makes it very difficult to convict offenders for this type of crime.
The conviction rate in terms of human trafficking has been very, very low. It's not different to your sexual offences cases because, 1, we do not have the strong legislation to support the efforts both that is done by the government and the NGO sector and other law enforcement agencies. At the moment, since 2004, when the Law Reform Commission issued out the document, the issue paper document, 24, we are still, struggling to deal with the cases.
The accused have been charged under the Sexual Offences Act for exposing the young girls to sexual abuse. In 2011, a Mozambican woman, Aldina dos Santos pictured here, was sentenced to life imprisonment for the same crime. Aldina was the only one convicted. in what police believe was a bigger human trafficking syndicate. The question remains, what sentence will Lloyd Mabuza and his alleged accomplice get if they are found guilty?
Coming up next, we take you to the scene of the crime.
It was here in this compound in Renosterhoek, a few kilometers from Sabi, where Mabuza allegedly kept his victims. The scenic beauty in this valley makes it hard to accept that it was here in this tranquil setting where the young girls were locked up and allegedly repeatedly raped by the perpetrator. We are taken to the house where the girls were held captive for several years by trauma counsellor in Tombifuti in Gwenya.
Then this is the place where the kids were kept.
What used to happen here?
Okay, the kids were staying here, and it was for several times been here. Then is where the place we did come and remove the kids, because this is the house where they were staying.
Since when? For how long?
It was since, because they did came in South Africa in different months and years.
Okay, and what were the conditions? Was it locked up? And
it was a terrible place for the kids to be kept on this place. It was so touching when I arrived here.
what time of the year was it?
When I came here, it was almost 2012, and the kids were being removed by 2012 on the 20th of February to the place of safety. Then we came here to collect other stuffs of the kids because they were still kept here, and they were so afraid to come to collect those stuffs of them. Then I came here to collect those stuffs for the kids.
Can you show us where they slept?
If you can see, this bed was being used by the kids, but this small one, just imagine 4 kids being sleeping on this small bed.
At the compound, we find the children's mother, 43-year-old Madalena. We have concealed her identity for safety reasons. She says she travelled from Maputo when she heard the children had been taken away by the police. She's eager to tell me her story. As we drive away from the compound, Madalena reveals the circumstances around her sister's arrival in South Africa. She claims her younger sister, Julieta, who is now on the run from the police, was sold to Mabuza at the age of 12.
Ela tinha 12 anos. Em Maputo estava a estudar, na minha casa.
E depois ficou amante do Sr. Mabuza?
Sim, sim.
Com que idade?
Com 12 anos, no momento que ele chegou, disse que foi neste ano. Sim.
E nesse tempo tinha contato com a família em Maputo?
Não, não.
Não soubeste?
Sim, sim.
Depois, como é que aconteceu que a Julieta foi parar no Maputo para buscar tuas filhas?
Ele foi assim. Ele me disse para entrar comigo aqui, para vir e conhecer aqui na África do Sul. Eu disse que não. Eu não posso ir sem passaporte. Primeiro eu vou fazer passaporte. Eu fiz passaporte, meteu as minhas filhas naquele passaporte. Já no dezembro de 2010, ele veio em casa dizer que mãe, tem que ir comigo para ir vir à África do Sul e com as crianças. Eu sem saber que ele já fez plano, tá a ver? Quando cheguei aqui, no momento que já eu queria voltar, eu disse, me dá dinheiro para eu conseguir voltar com as crianças. Ele disse que o Mabuza não me deu dinheiro.
But apparently it was all a trick to get her to leave the children behind. When Madalena returned to Maputo, Julieta promised her sister the children would attend school, but instead they were forced to work in the plantations, allegedly sexually abused by Mabuza. The parish priest in Malalan says it's common for poor families to leave their children in the care of others in the hope that they'll get a better life.
Families that are selling their children because they don't have finance, maybe there was a drought or something, so it's the last resort, but it is sad to say, but some parents sell their own children. We have proof of this. And what's worse is some of those kids are murdered and their parents used to do muti there. Some have been caught, and it's public knowledge, and the cases were already in the newspaper, but many are not caught.
Father Jean-Pierre says every year more than 60 children disappear, mostly due to trafficking. The Mozambican consul says it's a grave concern for the government that parents are selling their children for as little as 1,000 rand.
Some of family, they give that children as part of business. Some of them they may be asking for 1,000 rands so that allow me to take his children to South Africa without knowing what I'm going to do with that children. And that happened mainly on those families who are facing economic problems.
Madalena says she confronted the alleged perpetrator, but he reacted angrily and told her to get off his property.
So foi falar com ela no momento que me disseram que tem que sair aqui. Eu fui até lá mesmo, lá onde ele trabalha. Eu fui até lá, encontrei ele, eu comecei a falar com ele. Eu disse que veio aqui para saber como está me mandando embora, aonde que eu vou. Eu não posso sair enquanto não me der as minhas filhas. Ele me disse assim: você está maluca. Você está maluca. Eu não tenho polícia aqui. Eu nasci aqui na África do Sul. Não tem polícia que pode me prender. Você está maluca. Pode ir aonde que você vai.
A social worker at Child Welfare in White River says often victims of human trafficking end up having a relationship with their abusers.
They go under false pretenses, and in the end, they are really slaves to these people, and they have to do everything that they demand them to do. So, and they are kept away from the community, so they're actually in custody of these people. And then sometimes, it seems that they even get this strange type of relationship with a person who's in captivity they are. So they don't want to run away in the end. So you even get those cases. So that's very bad. So it's not just children, it's adults as well.
In a moment, what is the impact of this crime on its victims?
The young girls were kept here at the Child Welfare Trauma Center in Sabi. The crime was detected when one of the girls managed to break free, leading the police to the house where the other girls were held captive.
There's one child that managed to escape at the compound, and it's that girl who did inform the police, saying that there are other kids that are there. But per se, it's not actually the girl who informed the police. The girl informed the social workers. The social workers came to the station to report that we are having this challenge. May you please run for us at that compound? There is this and this. Because the social workers, they were so scared to go by themselves there. Only police managed to go to that compound, and they managed to find the girls there.
The children were placed in the care of Child Welfare as the state could not find a suitable and secure place where their safety could be guaranteed. This centre, which is close to the police station with the hospital nearby, is ideally placed to care for victims of sexual abuse.
A victim trauma centre such as this one?
Okay, at the victim trauma center, we're doing counseling for all the main purpose of the trauma center, as we all know that at each and every station, there should be a trauma center whereby the people of abuse, they can have a privacy. Because at the CSC, where is the place of the police, there's no privacy when they come to report the cases such as I'm being raped, I'm being sexually abused. Then there's no privacy. Maybe sometimes you get that the perpetrator is also there and the victim is no longer free to say what actually happened.
A grave concern for child welfare officials was that the children were kept in Sabi, which is very close to the perpetrator's home. There was also a fear that the alleged abuser could intimidate the victims. However, the police have dispelled this.
We don't fear that he might intimidate the victims. So there are many factors that the court look at before a person is given bail. And if the court is satisfied about that, there is nothing wrong about that. Our job is to secure the investigation, as I've said. And for this moment, we feel that we are continuing correctly the investigation.
Given Lukuleni is the anti-child trafficking officer working in Mpumalanga, he says in some instances it's difficult to convict offenders because they hold high positions in society.
Sometimes the perpetrators themselves are people who are in high authorities, like your officials, government officials, and some of them are leaders within our communities. And it is highly impossible for you to go and approach somebody in the community. This person has got money, has got everything. Those people can buy their way out if they're doing such things.
Trauma counsellors had a tough time in dealing with the abused girls.
I believe the girls were kept here
Can you basically explain to me when did they arrive here?
Okay. They were being kept here. This is the bed that they were using. Because they were being 4, other one was sleeping here. And as you can see, there are a lot of toys on the bed. Sometimes you'll get them playing with all the toys. They will keep the toys throwing to one another, making that noise, you see. Then another 2, they will be sleeping here. Okay. The sister and the younger sister, they were using this bed.
Is this general behavior from kids that are traumatized? What have you found?
What I did notice, a lot of the kids that are being traumatized, they have these behavioral problems. But that one of the Mozambican girls, it was more than other kids that we usually have here. Why it was more? It's because that kids from Mozambique, there was no parental care. No one was supervising them that, okay, this is wrong, this is right.
The children were kept at the trauma center for several months while the police concluded their preliminary investigations.
It wasn't our case, it was Social Development's case, and we were just the facility that they used to protect the children here and give support and counselling. But the problem was, it seems, that they were protecting these children, and they say that we were the safest centre at that stage, you know, to protect them for that perpetrator. And so it seems that the court case needed to be dealt with first, and you know, then after the 6 months they could shift those children to safety, to youth care centres.
They did arrive here on the 20th of February 2012. Then they departed the place on, it was November.
Why such a long time? That's 10 months.
Okay, the kids, according to the victim support law, the victim is being kept here only for 3 days because we usually look for the place where the child can be placed, and the social workers are busy looking for that. But for this case of the Mozambican, it was a case that was sensitive to us, to each and every us too, because it was for the first time to have such a case about child trafficking.
Meanwhile, Madalena tells me she's heartbroken and will only return to Mozambique if she can take her girls with her.
Muita dor que estou a sentir dentro do meu coração.
Por quê?
Estou a sentir dor mesmo. Tá a ver com a idade que as crianças têm, tá a ver? Depois aquele senhor ali não foi mesmo fazer sexo com ele. Já isso aí, o meu coração está a doer. Porque agora já estou a ver que já não tenho filhas.
Madalena has had no contact with her daughters as the state prepares the matter for trial. This means it could be a long time yet before she is reunited with her girls.
Now, I'd like your views on this issue, and you can comment via Twitter, email, or Facebook, and I'll do a follow-up on my SAFM radio show. That's on Friday at 2:30 p.m. Finally, on to comments from last week's program on former Vlakplaas Commander Dirk Coetzee. Valerine de Blaver Facebooked, "Living in the past doesn't help, except if it helps to avoid the same situation in your present time." And Dr. Stray de Villy tweeted, "Dirk Coetzee did not reveal all the truth about those who gave him instructions, and reconciliation failed to give justice to victims." Well, that's it from me. Join us again next week when we point out the issues that matter.